What's up, everybody? Welcome to Week 9 of the NFL football season. In this video, I'll be going over a majority of the games of the Week 9 slate, and I'll be telling you where my head's at and where I'm leaning towards for each game's picks, picks against the spread, and over-under bets as well. Before we get into that, I'll do a few quick announcements. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Profit of Picks. Especially if you're making bets with us and following along with our video, it's crucial that you follow us on Twitter because as the week goes on and we get more information and more data, we tweet out picks, and that's been a lot more accurate as we get a lot more data to kind of analyze and go into our picks later in the week. Another one too, if you haven't already, sign up for Prize Picks using our code PROPICS. They'll match your deposit up to $100, 100% match. Prize Picks is really big too because even if you're in a state that doesn't have legalized sports betting with DraftKings and FanDuel, chances are you'll still be able to bet with Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy. The big states are like Florida, Texas, California. They don't have legalized sports betting, but you can still bet with Prize Picks. And the huge thing here I talk about every week is Prize Picks Flex Play. Think about how often you do a parlay and every single leg hits except just one. And you think, well, I'm really good at this. Maybe I should be getting paid out a little bit just because I get one wrong. This Flex Play with Prize Picks is like a built-in promo for every single bet, whether you're making a 2-leg parlay or a 5-leg parlay. If you get just one wrong, they'll still pay you back and you'll still be making money. That's what I've been doing. I've been hammering the 3-pick Flex Play. More often than not, I'm getting 2 right, sometimes even 3, and I've been making a lot of money that way. So that's something you guys should all definitely look into if you're interested. And don't forget to use the code PROPICS to get your first deposit match up to $100. Going into the football games, the first one we're going to talk about are the Patriots playing the Carolina Panthers. We just might see the return of Christian McCaffrey this week. Even still, I like the Patriots -3.5. Even more so, I think I like the under this game too. These are 2 really good defenses with the Patriots and the Panthers, and not a ton of offensive firepower. Sam Darnold is not looking great, and Carolina didn't do it with the Jets either. I expect Bill Belichick and that Patriots defense to throw a bunch of good schemes together to keep Darnold confused and not really know what's going on in that offense. The addition of Christian McCaffrey will be big for the Panthers, but I don't think it's enough for their offense to really get things going. And I keep saying every week too, Mac Jones is looking more and more comfortable in that Patriots offense. He's really getting a good footing with this New England system, making consistent plays. He's not, throwing the ball deep every play, not playing the quarterback hero role, trying to win every game. But he's a good game manager that makes good throws, smart checkdowns when he needs to. I think that's kind of the recipe for success, especially when you're playing a bad subpar team like the Panthers. You're not going to have to, put up 1,000,000 points to beat these guys. All you got to do is play sound, fundamental football, and you're going to win against bad teams. And that's what the Patriots do more than anyone else. Just play smart football, play within themselves, and not try to do anything too fancy. And because of that, I think the Patriots are going to beat the Panthers. I think they're going to make Sam Darnold look pretty foolish as he's been doing the past few weeks, besides that Falcons game where he was able to pull off a win. But this Patriots team is much more talented, much more disciplined, more importantly, than that Falcons team. So look for the Patriots to keep that winning streak of 1 going as they keep trying to make a playoff push. Next game, we got the Vikings at the Ravens. I think it's a very, very interesting game. As you saw the Vikings lose to the Cowboys' backup quarterback on Sunday Night Football, wasn't really able to put up a lot of points there. I think people are going to be too quick to write off the Vikings, who are very variable going in from week to week. Some weeks they look great, as they almost beat the Cardinals, losing off a last-second field goal miss by them, and looking pretty bad against the Cowboys and against the backup quarterback. You don't always know what you're going to get out of this team, but the fact remains that they have so much talent on both the offense and defensive side of the football. That being said, the Ravens are coming off a bye and just as stacked and talented in terms of personnel too, especially on the defensive front 7 and with Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. I think the Vikings are going to compete with the Ravens this game, but I think the Ravens are still going to pull it out. The one I really like more than anything is the over. The Ravens defense secondary has been hurt all year with a key loss of Marcus Peters at cornerback, who's been out for the year. I expect the Vikings to take advantage of their secondary woes, really push the ball downfield with Thielen and Jefferson, who are just 2 of the best wide receivers in the game and maybe the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. As long as Kirk Cousins has time in the pocket, I think that he'll be able to keep hitting these guys downfield. As with the Ravens, They have such a good coaching staff and such good schemes. When you give them 2 weeks to prepare for the Vikings, I think at least on offense, they're going to have a lot of really good play calls, especially trying to do things with Lamar Jackson with how special and talented he is to get guys like Rashad Bateman really more involved in this offense. Highwood Brown, a couple deep shots there too. I think the Vikings defense going to have a hard time stopping the Ravens offense. And I think the Vikings offense is more than capable of putting up points with a downfield passing attack. Because of that, I like the over this game. Still like the Ravens to win, but I think people's initial reactions are going to be thinking Ravens by a million. I think it's going to be a little closer than people think. A little AFC North divisional matchup here with the Browns and the Bengals. Browns and Bengals both coming off 2 tough losses on week 8. Browns really couldn't get anything going against the Steelers, only putting up 10 points, albeit against a really good Steelers defense. And then the Bengals with the heartbreaking loss on the road against the Jets. They had an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left to go. ESPN had the Bengals with a 99% chance to win against the Jets, against their backup quarterback. And somehow the Jets were able to pull it off. So heartbreaking loss for the Bengals, but I expect them to bounce back this game against the Browns. The big thing is the Browns have an incredible O-line, incredible rushing attack, and there's no question about that. But they've really been struggling in the passing game, even despite with such talented players with Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry is playing pretty solid, nothing crazy there, but Odell Beckham Jr. really not living up to the hype in his time in Cleveland. It's really hurting the Cleveland passing game. That offense can only do so much with their run game. The defense to start stacking the box and forcing Baker Mayfield and that passing offense to show up. And in the last few weeks, the Browns offense and passing it really hasn't. I expect the Bengals to bounce back. This is still a really good football team, just coming off a really bad loss. And I think with guys like Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow on offense, they're going to be putting up points, at least enough to beat the Browns. Because like I said, once the Bengals start putting up points and getting the lead, that's going to force the Browns into passing situations. And that's just the situation they've proven they can't really handle all year long. So if the Bengals can get up early, and I think they will, I think they'll cruise to a win against the Browns, who look to be struggling of late. Another divisional matchup, this time the NFC South with the Falcons and the Saints. Couple of key personnel players missing from this game. You got Jameis Winston, who suffered a season-ending ACL tear last Sunday. So I think right now, looking like Taysom Hill, who has been injured and hasn't played the last few games, might be the starting quarterback for the Saints this game. Keep an eye on his injury status, but it's looking like he's good to go. And then Calvin Ridley, the star wide receiver for the Falcons, announcing he's stepping away from football for a little bit to address some mental health issues and just trying to get his head in the right space, which is very commendable. But he's going to be not there this game, which is going to hurt that Falcons offense and their passing attack too. It's going to be an interesting game. I really don't know who I like -6, +6 or not, just because the Falcons are really going to be searching for a new identity on offense without their stud wide receiver. But then the Saints too, not playing with their starting quarterback. I don't know what Saints team's going to show up this game either. What I do really like is the under of this game. Taysom Hill, while he's a very dynamic quarterback, he's not the kind of guy you want passing the ball all game, every game. He's more of a dual threat hybrid quarterback and kind of relies on more trick play scheme offense than that Sean Payton Saints-led offense. So I think because of the questions at quarterback for the Saints also have a great defense that is going to give the Falcons fits, especially in the run game. Matt Ryan and the Falcons are going to have to pass the ball a lot. And that's something I don't know how they'll fare without their number one receiver being out. They do have Kyle Pitts, Russell Gage, Cordell Patterson, but we'll see how they fare against the Saints defense. Has an incredible front seven and really good secondary personnel with guys like Marshawn Lattimore, who seems to be able to shut down most guys in the league too. I think you're going to see a really low-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons won this one, but the way I'm leading, the bet that I like the most here is the under at 42.5. This is going to be a close game. Probably whatever team wins is going to be decided by 3 points, but in a low-scoring game in New Orleans. Here's a game I really like from a betting standpoint with the Chargers and the Eagles. I love the Chargers -2.5 here. I can't believe what this line's going off at. I think there's a little bit of bias here, recency bias going on here, with the Chargers dropping one at home against the Patriots, who, again, I think is a much better team than their record reflects. And then the Eagles are coming off a blowout win with the Lions. I really don't read much into that as the Eagles Haven't been playing well all year, especially against good football teams. And the Lions are obviously one of the worst, if not the worst football team in the NFL. I really like the Chargers have a bounce back game here. They do have a lot of offensive firepower with guys like Eckler and Keenan Allen on offense and deep threat Mike Williams. If you're going to give um, Justin Herbert time in the pocket, he will pick you apart. That Eagles pass rush really hasn't been all that to be desired this year. And so I think if Justin Herbert gets time to stand in the pocket and hit his receivers, he's one of the most accurate passers in football when he's got time in a clean pocket. I think he's going to pick this Eagles defense apart. As for the Eagles, when I'm watching them on offense, I just shake my head at some of the plays that and simple throws that Jalen Hurts sometimes isn't able to make. He's obviously X factor quarterback that can make a ton of highlight plays, especially with his legs. But when he needs to make the simple throws that most NFL quarterbacks are making, he falls short sometimes. And I think that's going to be a huge difference in this game when they're going to have to put up points to stay with the Chargers. I really like the Chargers minus 2.5 here, but I also really like the over here. Like I said, I think that Herbert's going to have a really easy time picking apart this defense, pushing the ball downfield and putting up points with his offense. I also think Philly, who's kind of on a roll right now, quite honestly, playing some weak football teams. Maybe they're getting a little bit in the groove. Jalen Hurts playing with more confidence. I think they're going to be able to put up their fair share of points. I like the over in this game as well, but with the Chargers winning by at least a field goal, I think that's pretty reasonable. A lot of divisional games this week with the Cardinals at the Niners. Big question in this game is Kyler Murray's health. He's lucky he's coming off a long week after his Thursday night loss against the Packers. He gets a little bit extra time to rest, but I think he's day to day with an ankle injury, which will certainly affect his mobility and his playmaking ability. And he is such a dynamic and capable runner as a quarterback of that offense. That being said, keep an eye on him. If he's playing and if he's anywhere near full go, I love the Cardinals minus 2.5 here, but definitely money line as well. I think this is a game that the Cardinals, who have a stacked roster top to bottom in just about every position on the field on both sides of the ball, they're going to beat a 49ers team that I think isn't all that great, even though it's a divisional rival on the road. I like the Cardinals to win here. That being said, if Kyler Murray is playing, they got such good guys on offense with AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore. Like, they have so many weapons at wide receiver. James Conner and Chase Edmonds, a two-headed monster out of the backfield, is really taking stride of late, especially in the run game, but in the pass game too. And then on defense, I know they lost J.J. Watt, but they still have plenty of playmakers with guys like Budda Baker and Chandler Jones out there. They have their fair share of X factor players. I think that's going to be too much for the Niners, who really rely on the run game a lot. And I think that's really going to keep this game a little bit lower scoring than people would think, just because I think the Niners are going to do their best to control the clock, keep the ball out of the Cardinals' hands. But when it comes time for Jimmy G and that offensive pass, they really are only throwing to Deebo Samuel. And so if the Cardinals can shut him down and limit him to the best of their abilities, I think they'll have their way on defense with the 49ers and be fine to cruise to a win this game, and a bounce back game that they would like to have, as them and the Rams are tied for the division lead with just one loss each. It's going to be a very tight divisional race here, and the Cardinals, if they want to win this division, are going to have to win games they're supposed to. This is a game I think they're supposed to win. Here's a very interesting game against two 1-7 teams, maybe the worst matchup of the week. The Texans playing the Dolphins. I was pretty surprised when I saw that the Dolphins were favored by 7 points here, seeing as they've only won one game this entire year. It was against the Patriots week 1, and the only reason they won that game is because the Patriots had 2 red zone fumbles, and the Dolphins, I think, won that game by 2 points. So Dolphins are lucky to even have one win under their belt. You probably say the same thing about the Texans, as they've also only had their win in week 1. Big story here is if Tyrod Taylor, their quarterback that got them the win in week 1, is he going to play? I really believe that with his dual threat capability at offense, he adds such a new dimension to the Texans offensive scheme that if he's playing, I really like the Texans to cover +7 here, because I don't think there's any reason to be giving the Dolphins 7 points here. They haven't proven anything to me all season long, except that they can maybe hang in games sometimes. Their offense doesn't look great. Tua is very on and off. For as mobile as a quarterback he is, I don't think he's using his legs enough. That defense doesn't really seem to be living up to the hype, especially with how good their cornerbacks are with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. Last year they did really well, but that's because this team, the Dolphins, relied on the turnover margin more than any team in the league. This year, they're not forcing those turnovers like they were last year on defense, and you can see the big difference in their record. And Tyrod Taylor's playing. I think that the Texans are going to cover. I think the Texans have a legitimate shot to win this game. There's just not really much going on for the Dolphins on offense or on defense. And I think that the Texans, with the added dimensions and veteran status that Tyrod Taylor has, I think he might be enough to give them their second one of the year. Probably the best game you're going to see on Sunday, the Packers at the Chiefs. Packers coming off that huge win and a long week against the Cardinals, and the Chiefs playing on Monday night, beating up on the Giants. But Patrick Mahomes just still, I expected him to really right the ship against the Giants, and he still looked good and made some great plays, but still some questionable decision makings at times. I know some of his interceptions, a lot of them this year, have been his fault with balls bouncing off guys' helmets and going through their hands. But even still, I'm seeing him make a lot of questionable decisions that guys like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady really don't make, and to limit their turnovers. I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, after that week one loss, have been locked in on both sides of the ball. I think the Packers are going to win this game, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to the turnover battle. I don't think Rodgers is going to make a mistake, and it's proven that Patrick Mahomes, week in and week out in this 2021 season, is good for at least one turnover. As crazy as that is to say, he's turning the ball over like at least once a game, giving his opponents extra chances for points off turnovers. So I think the Packers win this game. I also think a big key in that is how good the Packers run game, especially with their left tackle, David Bakhtiari back, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon splitting carries there in the backfield, looking great. I think they're going to run the ball, control the clock, kind of like they did against the Cardinals. They're going to run the ball and keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, put up points when they're on defense and their defense is healthy and fresh, because Aaron Rodgers is controlling the ball on offense. They're going to limit the Chiefs like the most defense has been doing, take away the deep ball and force Patrick Mahomes to make simple, easy throws. And that's something it's proven that he doesn't really want to do. He wants to keep forcing that ball down the field, making the big play. That's one area Mahomes needs to fix in his game, is just be content with what the defense is giving you instead of trying to force the ball. Those are mistakes that Rodgers doesn't make, and that's what's been plaguing the Chiefs offense of late. So I think the Packers, with the solid run game, solid defense, and turnover-free football, are going to beat the Chiefs on Sunday. And the last game we're going to talk about are the Bears playing the Steelers. I will admit, the Bears, no matter what year, no matter what personnel or what coaching staff, this is one team that I am the worst picking against or for. I can never figure them out. I never know when the right time to pick the Bears is or the right time to fade them. So take everything I say about the Bears with a grain of salt. But this is a team that both these teams, their entire franchise has been built off, not great offense, but incredible defenses. And that's not really anything different this year. Bears have a solid defense, even without Khalil Mack, a solid front seven. And they've been limiting points for a decent amount on defense. Same thing with the Steelers, holding the Browns to 10 points last week. The offensive struggles too. So I really like the under this game. I don't know who's going to honestly win this game, who's going to cover. I'd like to see the Steelers, shut down the Bears, who have a terrible offensive line. I think that Steelers D-line is going to be in the backfield all day long, forcing sacks, holding penalties, pushing the Bears offense back into really long down and distances. I think that's where the Bears are going to struggle offensively. That being said, I think the Bears defense is more than capable of limiting the Steelers offense. We only put up 15 points against the Browns defense. I think the Bears are defenses around that same caliber as the Browns. So I think both offenses are going to really struggle to put up points. A field position battle all game long. A lot of defensive linemen in the backfield, a lot of sacks and long down distances. I think that's a great recipe for an under 40. I think the Steelers win this game. Who's going to cover? I have no idea, but this is going to be a really hostile environment for Justin Fields in his first primetime game of his NFL career. I think that this hostile crowd in Pittsburgh is going to be a really home field advantage, and it's going to be enough to give the Steelers to win this game in a very low scoring game, I'm predicting. I just want to recap, and I talked about some various bets, but if you're just looking at what teams you think are going to win, I highlighted them here. Nothing really all that crazy in this one, picking most of the favorites, especially in games when they're favored by more than a touchdown. I think that Bengals and Browns game is projected to be pretty close. I think the Bengals will win that one as they try to right the ship after a tough loss against the Jets. Here, a couple picks against the grain here, like the Texans to beat the Dolphins. That being said, that's under the caveat that Tyrod Taylor is healthy and playing. And then like the Chargers and then the Packers here too is an upset win against the Chiefs. I just think that Aaron Rodgers is going to play disciplined football like he's been doing all year. He seems incredibly locked in right now, and that's not something I can say about Patrick Mahomes. So I think that's going to give the edge to the 7-1 Packers, who are looking incredible right now. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe so you can keep watching this content week in and week out. Let me know what you think in the comment sections, whether it's positive feedback or criticism. I love hearing what you guys have to say. Love interacting with you guys in the comment section. Definitely let me know what you think about anything this game, what you like, and what you're betting. But I'll be back in week 10, and best of luck with the picks and bets. I know we all got this. We're going to have a pretty fun week. I'll see you guys later.